You're listening to Traumedy, the podcast that helps you take your pain and play with it. That's what Charlie Chaplin said to do, and that is the motto of the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor, an organization that has a humor academy where you can study to be certified as a humor professional in therapeutic humor. It is amazing the things that I have learned that have given my life new meaning as a comedian, as a nurse, and now I'm blending the two together, and I give keynote presentations at healthcare conferences, business conferences. Let me just tell you, everyone can benefit from the power of humor, which is the name of my presentation. I customize it to what you need for your attendees. I'm taking the power of humor to Philadelphia and Boston this week. I'm going to be presenting at the American Trauma Society. Did you know there was an American Trauma Society? The American Trauma Society of Pennsylvania. There'll be a lot of trauma nurses there. We want to give them the gift of humor. Help them know that gallows humor is a part of the coping mechanism. Don't feel ashamed of it, even though I got written up for that in nursing school. Now we know I was being of service. Then I'm going to go over to Boston and present at the Spring Fling for the Critical Care Nurses Association. And I love it. Nurses are the best audience, I got to tell you. They have the darkest sense of humor. Can't offend them. You really can't. Try. Just try. Try and offend a group of nurses. You won't be able to. We have to laugh at the darkest stuff. We have to. It's actually a need. We got to express that vicarious trauma. So contact me through my website, nancynorton.tv. That's nancynorton.tv, like television. And that is also my Instagram at nancynorton.tv. Lots of reels there. The ones that are going viral are the ones that, it's not the bits that I've crafted over 30 years of doing stand-up. It's the bits where I am blurting out some of the complaints that I've had about shame-based nursing schools or the struggles that I've dealt with. And you know, that I think is what people want to hear, is that raw, honest truth. And so that's what we do here on Traumedy. We have guests that come on. They talk about some real stuff in their lives. A lot of them are comedians, because comedians are often wounded children. I am in a program for adult children of dysfunctional families. It has been transformative in my life to do some healing and reparenting. All right. My guest this week is an author, Jennifer J. Keith. She is the past president of the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor. Her book is called Fixing the Funny Bone, The Grit Method. And she's going to talk about the grit method in this upcoming episode that you're going to hear. She was a wonderful guest, and I'm so glad to get to know her better. Then she heard my episode last week and messaged me and said there were some things there that we had in common. I love the connections. I find this very healing. I hope it's helping and healing for you as well. Okay, let's get this party started. Sit back, relax, enjoy this interview with Jennifer J. Keith, author of Fixing the Funny Bone. You can find her at fixingthefunnybone.com. We will reconvene after this episode. Welcome to Traumedy. My guest this week is an author of an amazing book called Fixing the Funny Bone, The Grit Method, G-R-I-T method to heal with humor. Welcome, everybody. It's Jennifer Keith.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Dun, 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 dun.
I want to hit a button or something.
Yes.
Where's the applause button? Which one is it?
I can make my own.
Woo, yay! Do you like Jennifer J. Keith or Jennifer Keith?
Well, I have very, my maiden name is very kind of unique. It's Piacek. And so when I went to Keith, I thought that's kind of boring if I'm going to put, so I did J just to kind of
give it a little pop. I like it.
Little zip.
I like that, Jennifer J.
Yeah,
Jennifer J.
I always went by JK.
Oh,
so just kidding.
That's perfect.
Yes.
That is perfect.
Yes. But
well, it is so cool that we're recording here at the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor Conference in 2024. We're in Denver, Colorado, at the Curtis Hotel in the Hopscotch Room.
yes.
I love that you guys chose this hotel because a lot of fun energy around here.
Very, very different, unique. Every floor has its own theme. It's just, it was not an original plan. And then one of our members found it and just said, I think this is us.
Yeah, it's got a great vibe.
Yeah.
It's got a great vibe.
I agree.
Well, and I am just now getting certified as a humor professional, they call it here.
Yes.
This is after 3 years of studying therapeutic humor. And thank you for, you've been a part of this organization for a long time. You're a past president.
Yes.
Are you on the board now?
I'm finishing my last year of past president. So it's a 6-year journey, 2 years of president-elect, 2 years of president, and 2 years of past president. So it's my last of 6 years, but I was conference chair before that. So 7 years on the board.
Wow, thank you for dedicating. I'm serious. I really appreciate you dedicating so much of your life to this, because it changed my life to read the articles that you probably also produced some of the articles that I've read that shifted my whole focus as a stand-up comedian. So I was doing stand-up comedy for 3 decades, off and on. I took a decade off to raise my son, who I adopted in 2005. He came home, but it was a 2-year journey. Anyway, I'm just saying, I was working back as a nurse again. I'm a registered nurse, and I was working as a nurse, working 12-hour shifts, and I was struggling as a single parent and also memory. And I just was Googling neuroplasticity, and I don't know how the algorithms knew what I needed, but what came up was, did you mean the neural pathways of humor?
Wow.
It was, and I kind of got goosebumps, and this is my sign, and I am very spiritual, so I was like, okay, I'll pay attention. And I started reading all these articles, from a lot of them from people in this organization, and it gave not only new meaning to my work as a comedian, like, oh, I'm being of service. I thought I was just a needy child, which is true.
Could be both.
Yeah, I mean, both could be. Yeah, both could be
Certainly,
true. Like,
yes.
I was getting my need met for connection, but also realized, oh, I am being of service still. And it was cool to read that. And I was like, oh, I love this. And then the more I read those articles, the more excited I got about sharing that message. And now I'm a keynote speaker in this area, thanks to some of the work you're doing.
Amazing.
And so when did you write this book, Fixing the Funny Bone?
I started in 21. It was something that has been on my heart for a really long time. And I grew up in a pretty much a happy and funny household. My mother said a lot of the time, we don't have much money, but we're going to laugh a lot.
That is so cool. That is the exact page of all the pages in this book. Because I kind of just was like, I got to look through here, because I wanted to think about, like, I love that. So that value, and say it one more time. Your mother said,
we won't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, but we're going to laugh a lot. See, laughter doesn't cost a whole lot.
Yeah, it's free.
It's free. It's contagious in a great way. There's scientific research that shows that we laugh alone, and then we laugh a huge percentage, 13 times, something like that, when we're with other people. Yeah. So when we have that camaraderie and that togetherness, and you find somebody that has a similar sense of humor, there's a lot of times people say, I don't have a sense of humor. Now, everyone has a sense of humor. It's just different. And you find your people are the people that have very similar senses of humor, or at least respect whatever yours is. And so some people have a very dry sense of humor, some people have very dark humor, some people are very, love a knock-knock joke, love a pun, hate a pun, and so such a variety of...
I love that. Love a pun. I can't even say it. Now I'm doing a pun about it. I think it was like, take a penny, leave a penny.
Yes.
Love a pun, hate a pun.
Hate a pun.
And then there's some puns that, there's just all of a sudden you hit your threshold on puns.
Universal groaners, absolutely. I would always say pun intended. That was just something growing up. I was like, oh, that one was intended. I want everyone to know I meant to do that, those kinds of things. So... and so I was a kid growing up in that household that was like, okay, that's okay. It's not like we laughed constantly, but we found ways to, we're just feeding people, we baked a lot. So we literally fed people, but we also just fed them with fellowship, with friendship, with humor, with laughter, with knowing that was okay. I was a kid that didn't, get invited to a lot of parties, didn't get a lot of, but my friendships were just connected through just similar senses of humor, or I was a theater kid growing up. So that I found was like, that's all inclusive. Anybody can be a theater kid. You work with your hands. You like to build stuff. Hey, we need a set. You like to do audio or video or that. Hey, we've got places for you. You like to be on the stage. You like to be behind the stage. There's room for everyone. So now in my current life, I love to do comedy on the stage in terms of like direct plays, musicals, because I think it's harder to do than dramatic roles, which is so funny that the Oscars highlight, how drama and how dramatic everyone is. And I'm like, you don't realize the timing of comedy and all of the nuances that are so detailed to go into all of those things. So,
man, I love hearing all of this. And I want to go back to something you said at the very beginning of that, which was you were a kid that didn't get invited to a lot of parties. And I think that any of us that grew up feeling different or just somehow not quite in the mainstream vibe, humor was a friend for a lot of us, that helped us through. And I'd love to hear more about that. Was there anything that you know about, maybe something you have in this book about that, or in a way that humor helped you cope with a feeling, I guess, feeling different in some way?
Oh, sure. I mean, my parents divorced when I was 10. I moved to a brand new school. I was the oldest of 3. And so I felt like my mom had been a stay-at-home mom. And so all of a sudden she had to be a working mom. And we were single home. And so this was the time of latchkey kids, and I'm a Gen Xer. And so I came home, I'm 10, and I am the mom.
Oh, wow. You got thrown into so much.
My sisters are 5 and 4. And there were other adults around, but I still felt I was the responsible. I knew how they were, and I can take care of this. So part of that was just that I put on weight. I had control over things. I had very little control over a lot. I could control food. So, and then
you could make food. It sounds
I could make food. Yes,
sounds like you like to bake. Well, you did say you fed a lot of people, which is a beautiful value that you. You sounds like you had a very generous value there.
Absolutely, that was also in my mother's wheelhouse. We would compete at the county fair with our baked goods and things like that. And so, so we did know a thing or two. Everyone for Christmas, teachers and all of that would get a tray of our baked goods as the teacher gift for the Christmas holiday and things like that. So
it's making me hungry.
Okay, well, I've got some. I should have brought some of my famous cookies. But and so for us, it was just like I ate. And so then with that, there are people that point that out to you and let you know. And I thought, you know what? If I beat them to the joke, I am in charge. I'm in control of the reaction to it. I get the laugh. And my friend Paul Ozenkup, who is a past president of our organization as well, has talked a lot about the risk of humor. And so if I make fun of me, it's very low risk.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one who can be offended by that.
Yeah.
So I would poke fun at me before someone else did. And then I took home that I'm going to beat you to the punch. And then I kind of honed my ability to be, faster and funnier than a lot of the people around me. And so I used that as my power. I also found that there were difficult times, but I was in charge of deciding whether I was going to be the victim or the victor. And I was
I love that. I love that.
I'm going to be the victor. So to do that, I may have to kind of make fun of the situation a little bit, or make fun of my reaction or other people's reactions to that situation. There's dark times. I'm not going to make fun of a really horrific and tragic situation, but there's something around it that's got to have some funny in it. Or, I'm not going to dwell on always the negative.
Yeah.
It just can destroy you.
I know. And that's so, I like what you were saying too about, like, I think of those concentric circles kind of going out from the bullseye of the trauma or the event, and then finding, like you say, something peripheral where it goes out to that sort of non-threatening area, or lighter where it's not so. I think tomorrow Pete McGraw is going to talk, and I've read his book about the humor code and benign violation theory. And so keeping it out in that kind of benign zone where, obviously it's different for everybody.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, I know with my stand-up friends, we go really close to that bullseye. It's so close, but we know what we mean.
Sure.
We're doing it in such a dark, sarcastic way that there's no way you really are thinking that, feeling that way. But it's playing it safe. And were you ever, like, I have to admit, during middle school, where I think I deflected. I definitely led with making fun of myself. I had a shirt that said "ugly number 1" or something on it, because I have this lazy eye, and I, look like a boy, and I just was, called ugly. And I was just like, ugly number one. I'm going to be the best ugly.
That's right.
Like I'm the best ugly.
Not second best ugly.
No, number one.
I'm gonna own it. I'm going to be the best. Yes, I can do that. Sure.
Yeah. And so, but then that's the, then I have to confess, this is like traumedy confessions, I guess, where, well, I think, I will say this, though. If they drew first blood, usually they had to draw first blood. But if they did, it's on. It's on. And I mean, my inner teenager, her name is Virginia Vengeance. Okay. She takes those swords out of her back. You stab her in the back, she pulls them out, and she's like, I'll pull that file. I know where you're weak. If I've been paying attention, and that's a survival trait, highly observant. And comedians are known to be highly observant, but we're scanning, and we're also building a file. And it's like, if you mess with me, I'm pulling that out of the file. I don't know.
Well, I know I've crossed lines, but I certainly know that. And then I became a teacher, and
you were a teacher?
A teacher, high school English teacher for 15 years.
Oh,
and so I would always walk in and be like, you can't pull anything over me on me because I've dealt with you punks for a long time. And put them on their edge, and I also had them for English class. So they didn't get to choose. They were going to take English. In our state, it's 4 years of English. So they were captive audiences. I felt like I was a stand-up comedian with a captive audience.
Yeah, well.
So I got to try out material 6 times a day, and
the roughest crowd in the world.
Oh my gosh.
No, there's not a rough. That is the roughest crowd. Nothing makes me more nervous. No. My palms start sweating.
I wouldn't want to teach any other grade. I loved the high school. I'm still working at a high school. And I just have always loved that age because they were savvy enough to get my humor.
Yeah.
And also, like, if they didn't, they would let me know. But I also was like, well, somebody liked it. My goal was to make them laugh at least once a year. Like, I wasn't thinking once a day. I'm thinking, let's be generous with all of our hearts about this.
Especially with a teenage audience.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say it because they're too cool to laugh a lot of times. Even if they think it's funny, they're not. Yes. They don't want to show it because it's somehow a power thing.
Well, and they were competing sometimes with me about it. And so that's why I was like, I'm honing my craft all the time and trying to be faster to the punchline. And of course it backfired. I mean, I'm doing stand-up 6 times a day, and it's going to have jokes that I'm going to try that fail. There'll be jokes that fail first hour, and second hour they kill, and third hour we're back to failing for the rest of the day. It's different audiences, and so for me it was also just like really personally, I'm finding out personalities and different styles of humor, and I'm doing all of this in a way where I'm also using it as classroom management. Yeah. The kids are leaving my class going, what? 50 minutes is gone already?
Yay.
Okay, that's great. Now, can we stay here all day?
Oh, I give you props.
You need to go.
I can't, I can't imagine a better compliment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's amazing. And it's such a gift. Yeah. It's such a gift to the kids like me. And I don't know where you fall on the neurodivergence, but I have ADHD, and I know that now. I haven't had extensive testing, but I learned from my son's testing.
Okay.
And also that the medication that I got put on really helped me. But I mean, I'm struggling here. I keep forgetting to sit near the exits because I need to get up and move.
Yeah, sure.
And it is so hard for me to It is so hard for me to sit through an hour.
Yeah.
And as a comedian, I also see jokes coming, so it's hard for me to get surprised.
Certainly.
I love it when I do get surprised, though. I love the joke today. What's Dr. Dr. Michael
Kundle.
Kundle.
Yes.
Dr. Michael Kundle. I just love, he had a joke that I just loved, but you know when it's a good joke and it doesn't get a laugh, it was like, come on.
No,
that was such a good one.
Yes,
or did it? I don't know.
Yeah.
He was calling us it's because it's AATH. He was calling us Atheians. He was like, he goes, trademark pending. It was a good joke.
Yes, indeed.
But anyway, just because some of those jokes fall flat with the teenagers, we know there's still good jokes in there. You got to grade yourself on a curve there for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and my first year of teaching, I was 22 and they were 18.
Oh, so
so I'm also like not much older than some of them. I'm still in contact with students that I had in the early or the late 90s, they're in the same, they're in their 40s also with me, And my lawyer is a former student, and I had said something one time about him, like, I really wish I could go back and reteach those classes. And he goes, are you kidding me? You were awesome. I'm like, well, I love that you loved me then, but I know I grew as a teacher. You know, those first 5 years are so hard as a teacher. And I just, you know, you're feeling out how to have a job and live away from home. And now I'm in charge of teenagers. And so there's just a lot of growth that I know I'm a good teacher. That's not a question in my mind, but I know I could have been better in those first few years but I don't want to redo any of that. It's kind of like redoing middle school. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
One is fine.
And it says a lot about your character. And I think it must have been so character building for you at 10 years old to suddenly be parenting a 5 and a 4-year-old that you are willing to take on that much responsibility at 22 years old. And I look at my life now too. I started nursing at, I went to nursing school. I think I graduated in 83. So I was also 22 when I graduated nursing school. Yeah. And I look back on that and I'm like, what? Like right now, I got to tell you, I don't want to work as a nurse. I that's why I do these shows for nurses. I do a lot of comedy shows for nurses, keep them at their job. I say, thank you for doing the job that I can no longer do. I, at this point, am like clearly not capable of taking on responsibility. But anyway, that's me. Yeah. I just I've gone in reverse kind of, but that's amazing. So you're willing, and I think too, being an older child, do you think that puts you more adaptable to be in leadership roles like you are here with this organization?
I really felt like, I was a kind of a calling to take on responsibility, and also then know that with that comes great power. That there's that great.
Is that a Spider-Man thing?
It is. It is. But it's also, and that's something that I felt like I taught English, but I taught life lessons through English class.
Wow.
So my goal was not to create students that couldn't wait to read the next Shakespearean play, but rather we're going to steal some really great life lesson from either a story that I had that I connected to literature, or something from literature that taught them something. I was just trying, that was my goal, was to try to get them so that they had something that remembered. They're not going to remember every day. Yeah. They're not going to remember every lesson, even if I spent hours and hours and hours putting it together. But they might remember a story I had from college where I'm like, this is a lesson I pulled from it. And one of the most recent ones was, it's so difficult for them to get, because there's a sense of, with our Gen Z kids and millennials, about this entitlement, and they're all entitled and they all want that. They do, but they're still forming their prefrontal cortex, and they're still trying to figure out reasoning and rationalization and logic and all of these things. And they're just kids. They're just figuring it all out in a different world than we were kids in. Yeah. It's changing all the time. And so I will say to them many times, like, okay, you go through a drive-through, and I said, let me tell you about this drive-through experience I had. I went through and I order, right? And they're like, yeah. And I said, I order at this and I place my order, and then I go and pay, right, with the money. That's my money. And I'm like, yeah. And then I go and I get my food, and see, I ordered a Big Mac, and I go in and pick it up, and I don't check the bag, and they're like, oh, you got to check the bag. Why?
Everybody's like,
why do I check the bag? Well, because they could have gotten it wrong. Why would they get it wrong? Well, sometimes they're busy. Sometimes they're distracted. Sometimes they know it's you and they don't like you. Sometimes they know it's you and they give you extra stuff, and and all the different excuses and reasons why. And I said, and I get home, and it's a one half-eaten chicken nugget. And then they're like, what? Oh, you got to go back. And I want 2 Big Macs now, and I want my money back, and I want apple pies thrown in. I want all that stuff. And I'm like, right. So when I give you an assignment, that's what I'm doing, is I'm placing my order. My money, my time, my education is my payment.
Wow, I love this analogy.
Now the deadline is, I've come to the drive-through window to collect, and you don't give me anything, or you give me a half-eaten chicken nugget.
Beautiful.
And they get it then. They're like, oh, it's a lesson. And I'm like,
but it's a great lesson in empathy, where they can embody that feeling. Oh. And otherwise, I didn't know. I will say this too. Like, I never thought about that as a disappointment, and how much of a disappointment it was all the times I did not turn in my homework. I didn't know I was.
Well, I just want them to have, and I said, I'm not upset about necessarily that I didn't get your homework. Like, I don't want more to grade. It's easier to put in a 0 in the grade book. You're worth turning in better than a half-eaten chicken nugget. Yeah. You're worth turning in that Big Mac that was ordered. You're worth. And I don't want them to do this in high school and then go to their job and do that. Yeah. So like for me, it was that life skill, and I was trying to find a metaphor, an analogy, something that was humorous too, that would, and then that they'll say to me for years later now, like, even at the end of the year, turning stuff in, sorry, it's a half-eaten chicken nugget. And I say, well, then what should you do with it? I'll take it back. I'll get you a Big Mac tomorrow. And so they just remember that.
Yeah.
And so those things are memorable. Funny is memorable. Yeah. That's part of what I write about.
Yeah,
in
let's
that.
go back to the,
sure.
Tell me the overarching message here. Fixing the funny bone. So when you're saying fixing the funny bone, what are you talking about?
Well, anything that can go wrong can be funny.
Okay.
So ideally, a lot of times we draw on those experiences that are so traumatic, so disappointing, so devastating. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve space in our brain.
Yeah.
They absolutely do. But when I'm going to continue to access those memories, those things, and Carol Burnett is attributed a lot of times to that grief plus time equals comedy, or
tragedy plus time
yes,
equals comedy.
It's comedy. And so many of our people that are funny have had such horrific things happen. Listen, everybody has had horrific things happen. Nobody wants to have had, we don't get to choose those. It's really our reaction to them. And I'm not saying that we're chuckling at the time of a really difficult time, but it's really taking that moment where if I'm going to access that memory, and I'm going to always go back at the time that my sister passed, or my mother had a stroke and passed, or all of those things that, like when I lost a friend in middle school, or like when I didn't get the job, when I didn't get into the college that I wanted or thought I wanted, or when I thought I'm going to be a journalist and ended up an English teacher, all those things that I thought, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to have these, and then they don't do that. When life doesn't do that, those disappointments, I'm like, there's got to be something funny. There's got to be something that now when I go to that memory, I'm accessing something that's not just painful.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cloud of cushion of a little
reef,
something softer to land on. It's not going to take the pain away completely or ever, but it's going to maybe soften the landing. It's a little pillow. And so I developed the grit method, not even knowing that I was developing it over the years. But so the G stands for grief. We have to allow ourselves time to grieve.
Yeah, that's the most healing thing. Like,
man, go through it.
It is. I'm finding that at this age, finally. And again, probably I have used humor to avoid some of the pain.
Sure.
But now it's been a resource. It got me through a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And I still use it, but I also need to go back. I had to go back in time.
Oh yeah.
But grieving it in sequence would probably be healthier. But I mean, when it happens.
Humor's a Band-Aid sometimes that we have to put on just so it stops the oozing and I got to put something over it. I'll go back and I got to clean the wound. And that's really what grief is I got to clean the wound. I got to get in there. It's not going to be pretty. Yeah. It's not going to be fun. And that's a lot of times I'm going to avoid it.
But it is going to be healing.
Yeah, it is. But I got to get it cleaned out. I got it so it can, not speaking nurse language because I know nothing about it.
I know all of a sudden
I got to irrigate the wound. I've done my Grey's Anatomy research. I got to irrigate it. Yeah. I got to get it clean so that then I can sew it up and then it can have time to heal. And so that's the grief. But I also want to make sure that people know that you can grieve things that are not the death of a loved one.
Yeah.
Other things deserve time to process and be grieved. It could be moving out of a house that you didn't. I mean, at 10, I was woken up in the middle of the morning and said, we're moving.
Oh.
And it was like,
transition time.
No, pack your sisters, pack your stuff and go. And it was like, okay. And we won't be coming back here again. Okay. That is an order. And I grieve the loss of that house. I grieve the loss of my childhood from 10 on, my certainty that I knew where I was going to sleep every night, those kinds of things. And I didn't grieve them until I was much older. When my sister passed away at 23 from a car accident, I was 27. And I didn't really grieve her as my mother grieved her because she was my sister and not my daughter. Mm-hmm. But when I had my first daughter, I sobbed for 3 days, and my mother said, I think she's got postpartum. And I said, no, I'm now grieving what it's like to be a parent that could have lost this baby.
Oh.
And I didn't.
You were almost like grieving for your mom.
Yes, and then I got to feel that total different experience of what it was like for my mom to have lost a child. And my child was 3 days old. I didn't get to know all of the things. And now, she's closer to my sister's age than she was then, and she's 18. But I didn't get to even know her as any, and I thought, this love is just so overwhelming. But so I kind of grieved in empathy for my mother at that point, but moving from a home, not getting into the college you thought you'd get into or whatever the path is, and or losing a friendship that is, or breakups of any kind. And so,
or having a chronic illness,
absolutely,
or losing,
and thinking that certain things were going to go a certain way and they don't. Those disappointments are allowed to be grief. Some are going to take longer and some have to go through all the steps. And there's all kinds of experts in the book that are like, different people have said, well, it's 7 steps or it's 9 steps, it's 27 steps. Well, take as many steps as you need. Go as many times as it's not linear. And the things that with grief are they're going to pop back up and surprise you. And you're like, wait, I wasn't sad today, but now that makes me, or things that made you sad before won't. And then it's like, okay, the R is relate. I'm going to find other people who've been through a similar situation. I don't even have to meet them in person.
Okay.
I just maybe do some research. I look it up online. I
listen to a podcast. I'm just saying that's what we're trying to do here is like people are isolated with trauma.
Absolutely.
Know that you're not the only one that's been through some really hard things.
Exactly. And then invest is the I. And then it's like putting yourself into, maybe you're going back to something that you gave up because your focus was on a different thing. If you're in a relationship and I don't golf anymore because they don't like to golf, and so I'm not going to golf anymore. Maybe I'm going to golf again, or it's a brand new something, or whatever. But now you're putting your time, your energy into something that's going to fill your cup. Okay. It's going to put time and focus back into you, not in a selfish way, because so many times,
but in a healthy self-love kind of way.
Yes, a self-love. So many times, like if you're doing something for yourself, it's self. No. If you don't take care of you, you cannot take care of anyone else. And then the T is taking that time to transform some of those really traumatic moments and looking for then what was funny around that time.
I love that you're saying the T, because that's what I say with traumedy is like transmute.
Yeah.
Transmute. And I don't know, you're an English teacher. Is that the right word to use?
You can make up whatever words you want. You can.
No, but transmute is a word. But is it, okay. I'm just saying, am I misusing it?
Nope.
But transmute, okay. Yeah. But now I'm going to be like, am I ending a sentence with a preposition? I did it again.
How dare
what do you think about the kids today saying me and Jerry went to the store?
Well, pronouns are difficult.
No, but me, like me first. Like my dad was always like, he would correct me.
Jerry and I. Give that to Jerry and I. I'm like, oh, take out Jerry and just give it to me.
I know.
It's a preposition.
I'm going to say it. I heard one at the last conference. You heard it. Isn't that hilarious?
So I used to have my red pen on all social media. And everything. I can't. I would spend so much time out.
But the millennials, they always put me first. They'll say me and Carrie are going out. And then I'm like, my dad would stop me if I said, me and Jennifer are going to do a podcast. He goes, Jennifer mean? And I would be like, what are you talking about? You said mean Jennifer.
Mean Jennifer.
I'm like, my dad, that's how we talk. Yes, okay, sorry. I had to drop in to do a little grammar police thing.
That's all right.
It's off point.
It's good.
But transmute, so transition.
And transitioning, we're transforming. We're transforming those really traumatic moments to having something. So when my sister passed away, and I didn't really know her because I'm 4 years older than she. I'd gone to college when she did her entire high school career. So I'd come back and we'd visit and things like that. And so she's finishing her college degree. She's student teaching. She's going to be an English teacher like me. And she finishes. And so I spent very little time with her because now I'm gone on to my career. And so now she's 4 years behind me. So she's graduating from college and I'm already started. I've already, been teaching for 4 years. What do you know, And her first year of teaching is the year of her accident. So she'd been teaching about 2 months at her school. And she, many times like, I don't have to be like you, but she would pick the same vocation that I picked and all of that.
Well, you definitely made an impression.
I hope so. I hope so. I think that she did look up to me, but I didn't really know her. So at her funeral, her friends would tell me stories and things like that. And I was like, I didn't know that. And they sent these huge bouquets of lilies. And I said, really, that lilies were her favorite flower? And they went, no, that was her nickname.
Oh my God.
And I said, really? She goes, yeah, we were at a beach for a vacation we took on spring break one time. And we said, oh, we should go over there to the nude beach. And she's like, no one ever over there is going to see my lily white butt. And her nickname became Lily.
Oh, that's
and
so
they
funny.
teased her about it all the time. And I said, I didn't know that. But here we are at her funeral. Very sad time. And she's so young and so much. And we're just laughing. And I thought, when I think of her funeral, I don't think only now of sadness. There's a little bit of Lily. My niece's middle name now is Lily. Our dog is Lily. Like there's lilies everywhere because of that memory is now ingrained. Yes, it's part of the funeral. But, there's even a chapter in the book called Putting the Fun in Funeral.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't have to just be it needs to go through the grieving process. I'm not belittling or diminishing the grief.
But it does kind of balance. And my therapist talks about, titrating the pain. And I think you can kind of, if that's kind of a chemistry term, but to make it tolerable, like, okay. And I can dive in a little deeper knowing I have this humor resource that's going to
pillow.
God, the little pillow. I like the pillow.
So soft,
I love these analogies. I like to think of it as a life jacket.
Sure.
Where I
can
dive in.
Afloat.
I can dive in really deep onto my trauma, but then I know I'm going to pop back up. And I usually pop back up with something funny.
Yeah. Sure.
And I talk about Tig a lot because we've spent a lot of time together. Tig Notaro's a comedian.
I love Tig.
Yeah, everybody loves Tig. I mean,
sure.
or they don't. I don't know. You either do or you don't. But if you do, you do. And but the thing I can't remember. We were riffing one day about an open casket funeral, where the middle instead of the middle section opens of the casket.
Yeah.
And there's a crank like. It's kind of a clown, like kiss their ass goodbye, And it was like they're prone in the casket, the butt raises up, and then it's like. But then we should have done this as a sketch. It would be a good Saturday Night Live sketch where it's like a somber sketch where you're talking to a bereaving family and saying, "Now we also have this offering."
Yes, here's the other option:
the open casket funeral. Yes. And just my problem is I can't keep a straight face like Tig can or Colbert. Yeah. I just start giggling because I'm just like
it's Jimmy Fallon. Breaks it.
I can't. I'm not good at holding the. I just have a hard time. But I love that idea of just taking. I mean, and we've all lost people, and it is such a shock, and it's such a weird reality ripping, especially if it's sudden, like a car accident. And then I love that Lily. I just think that's so funny that they. Brought those lilies.
So they did, so then when my baby sister just passed, then less than a year ago.
Oh, you've lost both your sisters.
Both my sisters and my mom. Yep.
Wow.
So and a lot of sister number 2 is in the book, and I was interviewed about the book last year. And she read it and she had notes. And I said, well, the next book, she won't be able to give me any notes. So see,
wow,
there you go. Take that. She will haunt me. She will still. And her children.
She's like, don't
haunt you.
Do not underestimate her. I bet she will still
have notes.
She will. She will actually. And
I may have more of them.
I actually do believe in people communicating from the other side. You'll get ideas in a dream.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
When you're doing your whatever edition.
Yeah.
Your third edition.
The cookbook, and then victim or victor.
This is really fresh off the presses then.
Yeah, it was just last year. It was 22 in November.
Wow, where can
the TED Talk and that came out.
Wait, you have a TED Talk?
I do.
What? I didn't know you had a TED Talk.
Anything that can go wrong can be funny. It's a TED Talk.
Oh, thank you. I got to check out your... Okay, now when we look for your TED Talk, and here's what I'll do. Okay. People in the show notes, I'll put a link. Probably you have a website.
JenniferJKeith.com or FixingTheFunnyBone.com.
Okay, FixingTheFunnyBone.com. And then will there be links to everything?
To the TED Talks on there, or how they can buy the book. And
everything's
and the
right
audiobook.
there.
I did my own audiobook. So if you like the sound of this voice, you can have it again for one audible credit.
One audible credit. Oh, yeah, let's get into our audible voice now.
Oh, yes.
Let's get into our NPR. Welcome to
Thank you so much for
Nancy's
joining
Public
us.
Radio.
Thank you. It's great to be here. So I'm actually so excited.
Oh, I can tell. Yeah, I feel very emotional as well. Here we go.
It's very calming. Very calming. The bubbling brook.
We should have a little fountain or something. Sometimes I light a candle.
Sure. I feel it.
I really appreciate getting to know you better because I don't know. I'm a loner. I'm a comedian, a stand-up comedian. I'm a loner.
You're not observing. You have to take it.
I am, but I never have felt quite inside any group in my life. I'll be honest. I was on the basketball team, but not really. Okay. I was in a women's activist group, but I was just the clown that came in.
Sure.
And then inside stand-up comedy, there's a part of me, like my friend Christy, who teaches stand-up comedy here in Denver, Christy Buckley. if you need to find I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But she will tell me, she goes, you're not really doing stand-up comedy. And I was like, I know. I'm always kind of half this, half that. And even today, I mean, everything I say is like, I'm a she, they, like my pronoun is one, the gender neutral indefinite pronoun, or I'm from the Ozarks, but I live in Boulder. I'm a little bit boy, I'm a little bit girl. Okay. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting.
You're Nance.
I'm just old Nance, and then I'm not really old. There's a very youthful spirit in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. I envy people that know where they belong.
Oh golly.
But
I don't feel like I am that. So we can envy them together.
But I am grateful to have this one-on-one time, because this is where I vibe with. I do love doing stand-up, and then it's either big groups where I'm channeling muses. I actually do feel like part of what I do is like try to get out of the way and let the muses come through. And then I love the one-on-one connection and just like, who are you? Yeah. And this gives me, I love this. Thank you for letting me know. Is there anything in the book that other examples that you might want to share that were like with Lily, or anything else that comes to mind that is something that's like, oh, here's an example, I mean, of a time?
Well, I mean, my sister, before her death, she had a...
is this the first sister? I hate to say it.
No, that's okay. So Julie is the baby sister, and she... my grandfather died during COVID, and he was older and had been in a vet's home, and we don't say he died of COVID, but he died of the isolation that COVID was. He was in a vet's home and didn't really have people visiting him all the time. And so it just kind of will to live kind of thing. And 90, and so lived a wonderful life and raised my stepfather and just wonderful family and really loved him. He was a big cheerleader for me, and I love that. And so, but during COVID, we're in August, so heat, and we're outside because we're socially distancing, and we've lined the cemetery with the single file weave of the cars. And we are like cars 4 and 5, and the hearse is car 1, and my father and his sister and brother are cars 2 and 3. And so we've gotten out of the cars. We're all standing far apart from each other. And I see my sister's doubled over in pain. And I'm texting her children. Her daughter is old enough to drive, and I said, what is going on? She goes, she's in pain. She's in the car. We don't know what to do. I'm like, I will lead the way to the emergency room. So I go over to my dad, and who's just lost his dad. And I said, can you move your car so I can take Julie to the emergency room? And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. And I know she's going to be okay, because I knew she'd kind of been having some, I knew exactly where the pain was. I'm like, I think it's a gallbladder attack. I think, and let's get her to the ER. So we go to the ER, and we leave our kids in their cars.
And part of me was like, what if this happened on the way there? And then you take a fork in the road. The hearse goes this way, but everyone else follows you to the ER.
There's just sorry I have to move you, but
there's going to be a slight delay in the funeral while the procession goes.
A different procession to the ER. So we go, and we've parked the kids are in and so I've gone through the whole like temperature check, and we're masked, and we're going into the protocol is that no one can be in there. It's completely desolate. No one's there. And so we come in and we meet with the triage person, and she's like, so what brings you in today? And my sister just says, well, we were at my grandfather's funeral. It was kind of all about him. So and I was like, Julie, so we're doubled over in pain and laughter. And the laughter I could tell already was easing some of her pain.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we
talk about, the benefit of humor. And people are like, well, you can't, like, laughter's the best medicine. Okay. Yeah. Right. But I'm not saying it replaces
morphine,
the gallbladder being removed. That was no, but it did lighten the mood. So we've got her literally, just laughing. The nurse is laughing, and Julie's pain is lessening, and we're doing our shtick back and forth of different things, and we go through, and after triage, she goes, okay, well, come back here. And I said, me too. And she goes, yeah, you can push her. And so I'm not supposed to be back there, and I'm pushing her to her room. I get her checked in. The doctors come in, and none of them are surprised because we're just interacting. And my sister was excellent at, like, when you meet someone for the first time, you repeat their name so that you don't forget their name. And it's very important. And Dale Carnegie talks about that too, knowing names, and it's just so important to just connect with people. And she was,
go ahead.
She was doing that. It's like, oh, hi, I'm John. I'm here to take your blood. Hi, John. I've got great blood. You're welcome to it, and those kinds of things, and put her on a morphine drip and all that stuff. She didn't need that to be funny, but Got her on that. And so I'm like, once she was settled, I said, I'm going to go check on the kids. So I left and went and checked on the kids, and I went to get back, and I went to the nurse, different one this time. I said, yeah, I'm going to go back to that room. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go back and see my sister. And they're like, what? I said, my sister's back there. I'm going to go back and see her. And then she looked at me like I was three heads. And I said, I was just back there. She's like, you were back here? And I was like, yeah, well, COVID protocol, you can't be back. I was like, I was literally, my stuff is still there. Like, I need to, can you take this and get my stuff then? And I said, I don't care. And she's like, so they call the triage nurse up, and she goes, oh my gosh, you guys were so funny. I completely forgot about protocol, that you weren't supposed to be back there.
Oh.
And I just thought, my youngest now is kind of like, I know you and Julie got along and just whipped back and forth and riffed all this stuff. Could I take her place for that part? And I said, absolutely. So I'm training her up to be my comedian's sidekick. Yeah, so that we can go back and forth and do that stuff.
You could do some duo team stuff.
Yeah. So sometimes, it can get you backstage at the emergency room if you're funny.
It can. It's so great that she was so like enjoying it.
Yeah, she just I thought, especially in that dark time of COVID, and
that's
with health professionals.
Oh, she needed the relief.
She needed it. She did.
Yeah. So
that's a Julie story that's in the book, and
I love that. I love that you're passing. Like, this is the kind of, they talk about generational trauma, but there's generational humor value. So. That's so cool that your daughter's picking it up. My son also, and I mean, he's adopted. We have so much in common. I can't imagine having
yours. He's yours.
Oh, he is. But I
sure,
mean,
you're just like, how is that possible?
We used to do Monty Python sketches at breakfast, where, especially if I was really stressed, and I still do it. Like even today when I was setting this up, and I thought that the power thing wasn't working, and I all of a sudden I just want to do a bit of a bad British accent, just because it kind of helps me.
Sure.
I think it gives me a little distance from it, and it's like, it's not happening to me, it's happening to whoever this character is that
Certainly.
And so my son and I in the morning would do just our favorite sketches from Monty Python, and now today, I mean, it's a definite home value, and I'm so glad you have that too.
Well, they would wake up horribly in the morning. And I would try all these tricks, and finally I'm just going to Weird Al you in the morning. And I would take their favorite songs, which are always Taylor Swift, and I would horribly botch them and change all the lyrics, and they would be like, to get me to stop. They would get up, but at the same time, they didn't get up mad.
That was a threat.
Yeah, but they didn't get up mad.
I love that.
They got up like, oh my gosh, my mother's crazy.
Yeah.
But
my God, you don't know like that. When you think about alleviating suffering, like because mornings are just so, especially for teenagers, just miserable to get. For me too, I didn't go to the morning session today because I'm still like, I couldn't. Sure. I was like, you know what? I want to hear it, but I also,
I gotcha.
If you had been there. Doing a bad song parody.
Oh, that's true.
Dang it.
I'll have to just come knock on the door.
I need to set. Would you record one so I can have that as my alarm?
Sure.
That would be good.
I know you're asleep, but you should be getting up. It's like, hey, wake it up.
Yeah.
Wake it up. Just like, okay, I'm up.
I think we should do that as the fade out music. Thank you for being my guest on this Traumedy episode right here at the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor Conference.
Downtown Denver,
where the parking is $25 minimum.
The laughs are aplenty.
Yes, it's worth it.
Rolling up.
It's worth the price for parking to come down here.
Sure.
And in closing,
oh my,
what's that song?
Closing time. I know you used to be sad, but now you're going to laugh yourself to sleep tonight. They don't ask me to sing often, and they usually ask me to stop, but it's all right.
Stop. Does that make you feel at home?
Yeah, that's better.
Just
I'm up. Stop. Just stop.
Just stop, Mom. Oh my God. I know. I'm so used to being ignored. This is a treat. Yes. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, see, I need to remember these buttons. Jennifer!
Oh, thank you. You've been a beautiful audience.
I want to thank my guest, Jennifer J. Keith, author of Fixing the Funny Bone. You can find her at fixingthefunnybone.com, who annoys her children with song parodies. Hey, no better way. I have to admit, I love song parodies. I think people love them. My audiences always love them. I have one in my act right now about my new dating app, traumabond.com. If you are a codependent and you want to meet a hot sociopath, apparently the codependents and the sociopaths are magnets for each other. Then go to traumabond.com. You'll hear the Pina Colada song, that, you know, that old song for cheaters, because sociopaths, they lack empathy, lack. They lack empathy, they lack insight. They lie a lot because it is fun for them. They have a lack of remorse, a lack of conscience. Other than that, they're great people. And if you want to meet a sexy sociopath, jump on my dating app, traumabond.com. Do you lack empathy and insight and get away with your lies? Do you like sneaking around at midnight, peeping at girls on the side? Then I'm the empath you've looked for. Please take me for a ride and steal my house. All right. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to Traumedy. Please share it with a friend. Let's get the word out there. I have yet to really promote this podcast, and I know that's on my list of things to do, is to do a promotion for Traumedy. I wanted to see if I had the discipline to upload episodes every week, and it looks like I do. It's a passion for me. It's a calling. It is an act of service. As a part of my recovery work, I feel called to help people who are isolated with trauma. Know that you are not alone. We've all been through some stuff, some of us, some horrible stuff, devastating stuff. And please know you can get through this. Keep going. Just keep going. Laugh if you can. Get a little distance. And find your community. Let me know if you'd like to be a guest on Traumedy. We have some more authors coming up. I have 2 more episodes with people from the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor. Pete McGraw is coming up. A lot of interesting guests, authors and trauma survivors and really good people. Just really good people. Like you. You're a really good person. I hope you know that. I hope you know that deep down inside, everybody, including you, if somebody told you, like my mother told me, that something's wrong with me, that I'm a bad person, that I should be ashamed of who I am, I'm telling you, that's a lie. Love yourself deeply, have compassion for yourself, for your reactivity. If you're like me, I have a lot of reactivity. Be gentle with yourself. Be around people that lift you up. Be around people that see your light, that invite your light forward. Know that you're here for a reason, and find the reason. And I hope that everyone out there has an opportunity to follow their heart's desire, their calling, and keep going. And no matter what, keep laughing. Peace and love, everybody.